We are on the last day of the summit. We appreciate your support. Hopefully, you guys found this content throughout the week very helpful, useful for not only you, but also other members of your organization. And today is going to be a great session led by David and his team on how to leverage Microsoft Teams in a hybrid work environment. So with that, I have the pleasure to introduce you to our presenter. David, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan and Sarah, and thank you for joining us and having us here today. My name is David Ertl. I'm excited to be joining you all today to cover some hybrid work and utilizing Microsoft Teams to drive that further. So like I said, my name is David Ertl. I'm a training manager with Microsoft. I'm based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. I have one of my Microsoft certified trainers on my team here, Macaulay Klutzley. He'll be also assisting me with the presentation today. He's actually based in Cleveland, Ohio. So what we're going to be covering today to help use Teams to drive that hybrid work, here's our agenda. So we're going to talk about hybrid meetings and why Teams is the best platform for that, including utilizing apps inside those team meetings like Whiteboard. We're also talking about how to connect with your team through apps like approvals, as well as tasks in Microsoft Teams, and then also how you can manage your day utilizing Microsoft Viva Insights inside of Teams. Later on the session, Macaulay's going to then cover some Power Platform use inside of Microsoft Teams, including how to get your data and those visualizations into Teams with Microsoft Power BI, and also get some data feedback from your own interactions inside of Teams, and also how to bring things together utilizing Power Automate to not only automate processes, but make things flow into each other. So with that, let's talk about Microsoft Teams meetings. So enabling hybrid meetings in Microsoft Teams is an effective way to give people accessible spaces to work together securely in real time and from anywhere. And that last part is definitely one of the bigger pieces is working from anywhere, right? Because we're working from our homes. Now we're back in our offices, or also maybe jumping from site to site right now, right? But it's going to allow us to share ideas, achieve goals, and ensure all of our voices are heard. You're going to be able to automate tasks using Microsoft Approval. So the Approvals app in Microsoft Teams is an incredibly useful tool that's really simple and easy to jump into and start using and allow you to connect with your team in an entirely new way. So it's going to help you streamline all your requests and processes for your team or your partners all in one place. And not only are you going to be able to create new approvals, you're going to be able to easily view the ones that have been sent your way and see all of the previous approvals that have already been sent all in one place. You're going to easily be able to connect, collaborate, and simplify your work with Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft tools inside of Teams can empower you to get work done and maintain connections with colleagues, whether you're at home, in the office, or on the go. And we're going to be covering some things like Microsoft Viva, specifically the Insights portion of Viva. So it's Microsoft Viva is a employee experience platform that comes to life inside of Microsoft Teams. So it's powered by Microsoft 365, and it can be it brings a whole new unique experience inside of Microsoft Teams. It's also going to help foster a culture that empowers people and teams to be their best from anywhere. And these Viva includes four different functions or parts. It has Viva Learning, Viva Topics, and Viva Connections. And what we're going to be covering today is Viva Insights to help manage that day-to-day experience and help find that balance in your workday and managing what's truly important to you. We're also be covering Microsoft To Do and Planner inside of Microsoft Teams. So whether you want to increase your own productivity or decrease your stress levels or increase your collaboration with others, Microsoft To Do and Microsoft Planner inside of Teams is going to make managing your day-to-day work life for yourself and for your team even easier. And so, like I said, we're going to be really covering Viva Insights today. And Viva Insights is going to provide valuable data-driven insights. It's going to help improve your work patterns with a personalized dashboard. And it's going to help you digest emails, connect with people, and find that time for yourself throughout the day to really focus and grow yourself, or just also have some great tools to help you find that balance throughout the day. And then later on the session, Macaulay's going to cover the Power Platform, and specifically two parts of the Power Platform. He's going to be covering Power BI and also Power Automate and how they can be integrated inside of Microsoft Teams. So now more than ever, healthcare facilities have embraced the value of using data to help drive outcomes and to harness the signals coming from a multitude of different sources, such as like your web traffic, social media, and business systems like CRM or ERP application. Sorry. Once implemented the infrastructure for storing all this information, how can they begin to make the data work most effectively, right? You're going to need a layer on top of that information that lets all your workers, regardless of their technical ability, whether they're frontline, technical capable managers, right? It's going to give them access and provide sources that's straightforward in a way that they can easily drive business impact. And we recognize that there's not enough programmers, data scientists, and tech professionals out there to go around. So our goal at Microsoft was to build a platform that of empowering technology, not only experts, but also the millions and millions of daily end users who see opportunities to help grow their business every single day and improve those processes. And the Microsoft Power Platform is going to do that. So the Power Platform is made up of four parts, and it's going to enable users to analyze their data and create actionable insights with Power BI. It's going to allow you to act on the intelligence using Microsoft Power Apps. It's going to help automate repetitive business processes with Power Automate, and it's going to also have the ability to help assist users with an intelligent virtual assistants with Microsoft Power Platform and Power Virtual Agents. So what we're going to be focusing on today is going to be Power BI, and Power BI is going to enable everyone at every level of your organization to find and share meaningful insights on the web and on the go with mobile reporting, with hundreds of data visualizations, the built-in no-code AI capability. So you're going to see a lot of AI functionality inside of Microsoft Power BI. And these rich integration, and it's also going to have a lot of rich integrations across Excel. And what we're going to show today is also a lot of integration inside of Microsoft Teams. And with that, Power BI is going to empower teams to discover insights hidden in their data. We're also going to show off Microsoft Power Automate as well too. Actually, sorry, this slide's actually also about Power BI. I apologize. So, with comprehensive sets of data capabilities, Microsoft Teams and Power BI helps our customers by creating a personalized experience for the users to discover data and insights available in their organization. And by making discussing data and by making data discussable and an impactful and essential part of every interaction and team meeting throughout a collaborative experience, it's going to help bring that data to life. We're also going to show off Microsoft Power Automate as well too. So Microsoft Power Automate is going to empower your people to drive business value. We want to help you put the power to automate into the hands of the people who know the work best, right? Those daily active users, and they're going to benefit the most from that as well too. So it's going to help you. Microsoft Power Automate will help you accelerate productivity. So you're going to focus on the work that really matters by automating repetitive work. These automated tasks are consistent and give people time to focus on more strategic work. You can also easily automate at scale. While professional developers can solve huge business challenges at scale, end users can also help people do their best work across the entire organization as well. Because again, these are the people that are actually doing the work every day, right? You're going to be able to easily apply intelligent automation to this. So they're going to be enhanced with Microsoft AI, just like those Power BI reports are. And you'll be able to integrate automation more securely. So Power Automate comes with the security that you expect from Microsoft. So you can be confident that you're working compliantly as well. All right, so with that, we're going to jump into our demonstration today. So just a couple things to note with our demonstration. I will be using a virtual machine, so there are going to be some technical limitations I'm going to have, and then we're also demoing out of a very generic demo environment as well too. So not going to be as busy as what my normal everyday work profile would be, but there's still some content there so we can show how you can bring these elements to life and really drive your hybrid work further. So let me get rid of my PowerPoint presentation here and bring up my virtual desktop. And I'm also going to go ahead and go off camera just to save myself a little bit of bandwidth. All right. So where we're going to start today is we're going to start by talking about Microsoft meetings. So what you're going to find with Microsoft Teams meetings is that it's going to be the most flexible option that's out there. It's also going to be the most conducive meeting option, especially in this hybrid environment. So a couple things we want to think about, especially as we're meeting hybrid, we want to make sure we're putting the work in before we schedule that meeting. So we want to schedule a meeting. Obviously, we just go up here and click on new meeting, and this is going to be very familiar to us at this time. But as we have people balancing being at home, being in the office, or maybe being at different locations, we want to make sure we're being as descriptive as we can. So when we go through and we put a title in, be very clear about what this meeting is for, and then build that out with the meeting details. So it's probably something we should have always been doing, but it's definitely even more important now as we have people in so many different places. So I'm going to not follow my advice. I'm just going to make a very generic title here. So be clear in your title. Put messaging in there to let people know why they're showing up today. And then also, as you're adding your attendees, let's go ahead and add Macaulay in here. And we'll also add someone else from my team. We'll go ahead and add Mike in here as well. Be mindful of their time. So the scheduling assistant is an incredibly valuable tool. So we can go in and see not only how our day is looking, but how the people who we're inviting to this meeting, how their day is looking as well too. And then some best practices within this hybrid environment is give people that grace and time so they're not constantly jumping from one meeting to the other. So as you're scheduling, give sort of like 5 minutes at the beginning and or at the end of those meetings so they have that time to decompress and transition from one meeting to the next. So as we can see right here, we're pretty open this afternoon, so I can put it at any time I wanted. But if I wanted to have scheduled a meeting in the morning here, I can see that myself and Mike are both in meetings until 9:30. Well, Macaulay is available. So to kind of compensate for Mike and I not having to go from one meeting to the other, I'll just go up here and set this meeting to start at 9:35 as opposed to 9:30. So give us that time to kind of decompress and relax from that last meeting that we were in before we jump right into the next one. And then also this is going to set it for a half hour. So you just have to manually go through and make sure you check off that end time to make sure it meets that 25-minute mark. But we got our title in here. We have our people that are here. We hopefully have a description that we can put in. So let's go ahead and just send this out. But we can continue to do pre-work to bring this meeting to life, especially when we're in this hybrid environment. We want to be very cognizant of the time that we're using live in the moment. And this is what makes Microsoft Teams meetings so flexible, is that we can actually go in here and click on it and we can start doing work before this meeting starts. So with Microsoft Teams meetings, you're not limited to just that specific time and place in which you're meeting. You can start doing work before it's going to bring in to the other. It's going to bring into the live meeting, and then it can persist after that meeting is over. And what's valuable in this is if you know that you're going to be presenting content or sharing content, go ahead and go into the Files tab and start uploading that information. So that way you don't have to wait till upload it in the moment. Give people that early access to it. Let them know what you're going to be covering. You can even actually go in and start a chat too. So start that conversation before that meeting even starts as well. And even start your meeting notes. So use this to set agenda for the day, right? Take those notes during the meeting, but also start it beforehand. Like, this is what we're going to cover. This is what we're going to this is what we're going to dive into today. So be very cognizant and respectful of those people times by utilizing all this pre-work environment that you can do. And then also inside the Teams meetings, we're going to be able to bring the Teams meetings to life by integrating more applications inside that meeting. And we're going to show one of those, which is whiteboard, which you can actually see is right here. So whiteboard in this environment comes standard for all meetings, but I can actually access this whiteboard before the meeting starts, and I can go in there and I can start doing work. And so can everyone else who's invited and accepted an invite to this meeting. So I can, for instance, go in and grab my pen and start drawing or writing in this, right? Start doing some work beforehand. But I can also integrate other applications into this meeting environment before the meeting even starts. Something I would highly suggest using would be Forms, Polls by Microsoft Forms. So Polls by Microsoft Forms is a tremendous application because it provides another level of interactiveness to your meeting. And what's great about this is you can build these polls out before the meeting starts. So if you have this well-structured meeting where you know what your agenda is and what you're going to be talking about, then you can have the confidence to go in and build these polls that at some point in time, I'm going to want to go through and ask this question. And if you know you're going to do that, go ahead and just go through and either create a poll from scratch, or we also have some best ideas that we can use inside this meeting based on that Microsoft AI technology, right? But let's just go ahead and create a new poll really quick, really simple. So you can see we have some templates here, some multiple options, including multiple choice, word cloud, or quiz, but I'm just going to do multiple choice and just ask a really simple question. What color, what color is the sky? And this is a great representation of the power of the Microsoft AI because it's automatically going to pull some answers in for me that I can easily select. And the more you use it, the more it's going to get to know, and the more that AI is going to learn and help you generate these answers more easily. So let's go ahead and save this as a draft because we're not going to want to launch this yet. We're going to want to do that when we're in the meeting. But we've done a lot of work to get this set up, right? If we have any files that we're going to share, we've uploaded those. We've started a conversation utilizing the chat. We have our motion set with whiteboard, and we have some interactive polls that we're ready to launch when we need to have them launched in that meeting. So we've done a lot of prep work. So now let's jump in and hit join and actually join the live session today. So again, this is where you're going to see some of my technical limitations, not being able to use a camera or microphone inside of this meeting environment. Cool. So we're going to jump into the meeting here. And while we're in this meeting, we want to be cognizant of some other great tools that we have to help these meetings more interactive, especially in this hybrid model. So up at the top, we're going to be able to see everyone who's in the meeting. We can see Macaulay just joined here. So we're going to be able to see everyone that's in the meeting, but also at the top here, we have reactions. And the reason I'm calling out reactions is because while it's great that we can be all in this meeting at the same time and that we can all use our cameras or microphones, we also want to realize that, people don't want to be on camera all the time, right? It can kind of feel performative at times. And so when you're not presenting, you don't want to have to feel like you're on display for people. So that's a great time to give them that grace to go off camera. And this is a great time to use these reactions, right? So it's hard to tell how your presentation's going over if you can't actually see people like we could when we're face to face. But these reactions can substitute for that. So if people are loving something, have a heart or the hand clap, or if they're ready to ask a question, they can raise their hand and make it known like, hey, I have a question to ask, right? So they're not interrupting the presenter. They're not jarringly come on camera or jarringly come on microphone. They can have that patience right there, just like we would if we were in person. We just typically wouldn't just blurt that out, right? So these are great tools to utilize within that, but also give people a little bit more freedom so they don't always have to feel like they're in that performative state. Also, when you're in a meeting, just realize that people may need that break, right? Just to look away from their screen. Because when we're in person watching a training, we are probably taking those instances to like put our eyes down and look around the room, look out a window, look at our peers. And being off camera or just being able to look away can also help substitute that so we're not staring at that screen the entire time. But like I said, we have some great apps to use that we can bring our meetings to life even more. So one of those, as we can see up here, we now have a polls icon right up inside of our menu bar. So we can click on this, and we're actually going to be able to then see that poll that I created before the meeting starts. and I can actually easily launch that right now, right to the meeting. So people who are attending the meeting can start filling out that poll. We can get those immediate results, right? So you can see how much time that saved, as opposed to me creating that inside the meeting live in the moment. But I still have the freedom to do that. So as I launch that polls application, I still have the ability to create a poll directly inside the meeting. But it's gonna save you so much time to do some of this work beforehand. So do the work beforehand to save yourself time, but have the flexibility to make it on the fly. And even if you don't create the polls before the meeting starts, you're not going to see this icon up here, but you can still add that in the moment by just clicking on more and then clicking on add an app. And then you'll be able to search through potentially hundreds of applications that you can integrate into this Microsoft Teams meeting. Now, what you have access to is determined by your organization. They can turn certain things on and off. So the potential is there for a lot, but for security reasons, they can restrict that, right? Now, the other application we talked about to help drive interactiveness and help us come together in these hybrid meetings is Whiteboard. And so you'll notice that I don't have a Whiteboard application icon up here. And if I were to come through and search for it and find an app, it's not going to pop up for me. And that's because in order to launch your Whiteboard, you're going to want to go up to Share, and then you're going to select your Whiteboard application right here. And I do want to call that out because Whiteboard is also a standalone application that you can access through an app on Windows 10 or Windows 11, but also through the web browser. And what's great about this is I created this whiteboard inside of a Teams meeting, but I could then also access it in those apps or that web environment as well too. But this whiteboard is an amazing experience because it's a free form digital canvas for us to communicate, connect, and ideate around things with a lot of fun tools to connect with and a lot of business appropriate tools to connect with. So you can see that circle that I put in there still persists into the meeting once I started that. But I can then go in, pull this up, and start drawing more things in here. But I'm not limited to just using pens or highlighters. I can also come over to the top here and I can do create. And I can put more information in here. So like we can put a post-it note directly in here. So as we're working and drawing things up, we can drop a little post-it note right in there to maybe keep track of something specifically. Put text box in there, put reactions in their shapes. We can also even drop in images into this as well too, as well as documents. So let's say that maybe opening up a new facility and we want to go over the blueprints. It's a perfect time to pull up a blueprint of that, an image of that blueprint, put it in here. We can use our pens and markers and text boxes to write over that as well too. And you're going to notice that I'm not doing any drawing right now. This is all Macaulay. So anyone who's in this meeting with us is going to have access to this whiteboard for us to connect and collaborate together in real time. So not only can we put an image in there, but we can also put a document. So maybe we have a new hire process that we're working as an HR team on. We could drop that PDF in here and we could start drawing on it. Or we can even drop a PowerPoint presentation in here as well too, and specifically a specific slide of that PowerPoint presentation. So you're going to notice that when I select that PowerPoint and I hit select, I want to be able to select all a specific slide or select all of the slides. This is a very generic one because it's empty right now, but I could easily drop a slide into this, and then Macaulay and I can just left click and drag it around to where we want to put it. And now we can start drawing and editing on this together as well too. So maybe we say we want to take that part out if there was something there, right? But again, this is a free flowing, free form canvas. So you're going to notice that I can take my mouse here and I can left click and hold down and I can drag this canvas around to get an entirely new space to work with. But if I were to then scroll or zoom out, I'm going to be able to see from a bird's eye view everything that we've been working on within this document. So this is within this canvas that we're working on. So we can go back through and this is stored in the cloud and access it through this meeting, or like I said, access it through the Whiteboard app, either this Windows 10 application or through the web. But we can also come up to our settings icon right here. We can actually export this entire thing as an image. So once we're all done working and we just kind of want to keep a snapshot of what we worked on, we can easily export this as an image. so we can have that PNG image for us to go back through and look at. But you can definitely see how this whiteboard can replace that whiteboard that we used to have on the wall that we would take uh, dry erase markers to, right? And go up through and cross things out or write things or draw things out, right? This whiteboard is a great substitute for that. An incredibly free-flowing experience that's very interactive and can be accessed by anyone, whether they're at home, remote, or in that same conference room where you're delivering the presentation. Everyone can have that device in front of them and be working to have their device in front of them and be working together. And then what's great is that even after we end this meeting and we leave it, all of this work and all the conversations, all the files, all that goodness that we had is going to persist. So that's why, maybe ending that meeting 5 minutes early or starting it 5 minutes late is not that huge a deal because Teams provides us the flexibility to do that work before, during, and after. So we still have access to that poll that I put in. We can vote again if we wanted to. We can go into the whiteboard and see that work that we've done and continue to do that work, and then go back to the chat to continue that conversation. So while it is great to be able to connect at a specific date and time, we're not beholden to that time because we can work before, it comes into the meeting during, and it'll persist after as well. Now, let's explore some ways of how we can connect with our teams and other aspects as well too to help drive work further. So a tremendous application to use inside of Microsoft Teams is approvals. And approvals is a great tool because what it's going to do is approvals is going to help you streamline all of your requests and processes with your teams or partners. So you're going to be able to easily create your own approvals, build on things from templates that we have, and then just easily keep track of everything that you've sent out, or if you're receiving those approvals, what have been sent to you. So to access approvals inside of Microsoft Teams, what we want to do is come over to our left-hand rail. And you're going to see my left-hand rail is pretty customized for this tenant right now. So I'll show you all how to do that in a second. But we want to click on our little ellipses right here. And we can see I've used approvals before. So it automatically pops up in this little pop-out window. But if I wasn't seeing approvals, all I would have to do is type in approvals, and it's going to find it for me. And then from there, if I left click on it, I can actually pin this to my left-hand rail. So it's automatically going to show up right there. So if this is an app that I frequently use inside of Teams, pin it to your left-hand rail so you can easily find it. You don't have to constantly keep going and searching for it. Well, let's go ahead and open this up, and you're going to see the power of approvals. It's a very quick and easy process to use, but has a lot of customization with it. So as we come into approvals, we're going to see first off that we can see the approvals that we have, but there is also integration with Adobe Sign and DocuSign. Unfortunately, our demo environment does not have access to either one of these because these are paid subscriptions. So we're just going to focus on the standard approvals that are still extremely powerful and useful inside of Teams. Up at the top here in approvals, we're going to be able to see our received approvals. So these are the approvals that are coming to us, as well as the ones that have been sent out. So they're the same approval right now because it's the one I submitted myself. So in order to create or to submit approval requests, all we have to do is come up to the top here and click on New Approval Request. And we have a few options as a requestee. We can go in and kind of use this basic template and kind of create our own unique approval, or our team managers or people who are managing the teams that we're a part of can also create templates for us. So for instance, on this team, we've created a leave template for us to request time when we need to leave the business. So if I wanted to request some time off, I could easily use this template. And you're also going to see that right at the top here, it's connected to a specific team. So this template is going to go or is tied to our Contoso IT help desk team. But I can click on this and I can now fill this pre-made template out for me requesting a leave of absence. And you're going to see it's already going to have some information in here. So it's going to have things that I have to fill out, which you can see with the little asterisk that's right next to it. And it's going to tell me who's going to be responsible for this approval. Now that's in contrast to if I were just to go back and do a new request, I can actually enter in my own approval. So when you set up the templates, you as the manager can go through and say, hey, this type of request or this type of approval has to come to me in order to get approved, or me and maybe a couple other people, right? So to create those approvals, we can do it from up here at the new approval request, because down at the bottom we'll have the ability to go to templates and create a new one. But we can also come over here to create or manage approvals, and we can build a template. And that can be from the templates that we have pre-made. So you can see we have some for business trips, as well as some for if they need a vehicle while they're out. And we can also view more to see other templates that we can utilize. Or we can also create a new one from scratch. So from starting from no template, build that customized one that we want. Now, before we go into that, I do want to point out that at the top here, right underneath the template management, we have a little drop down that says communication team. And this is actually going to let us jump back and forth between the different teams that we're a part of, where we have the capacity to create these approval templates. So let's go ahead and keep this in the Contoso IT help desk. And you're going to see I have the history of all the approvals that I've created and that my team can use. And I can now come in here and go up to new template. And again, I can also create a template from create an approval from those templates, or build one completely from scratch. Again, it's going to let me just make sure I'm putting this to the right team. And I do want to have this for my Contoso help desk. So I'm going to go ahead and hit add there. And now I'm able to build this out. It's very basic, but that means it's super easy to jump into and manipulate and build how you want it to, and then easy for the people on the team to utilize it. And that's what we want: quick and easy usage, access, and response time, right? So we can build this template out. So let's call this another leave of absence. I can't spell, don't judge me here. And we can select a category for it, right? So whether this is going to be for activity, administration, attendance, finance, or just other, it can be whatever we want it to be for. So let's go to attendance, and we can also, again, put a description for this. And if this page is now how we want to have it set up, we'll just go ahead and go next. In form design, we can build this out completely from scratch as well too. So we can choose what type of questions that we want to put in there, choice or text or date. So in this time, let's go with date. And we'll say, what time do you need off? And we'll let them select a date. And we can add multiple questions in here too. So this can be, what is the start time of your leave? And then I can add the second question of date. When will you return? When will you return? Just like that. So now I have my two questions right there, and I'm going to make sure I make both of these required. So you're going to notice at the bottom of the questions, we have whether they're required or not. You see right here, it's automatically updating for me. And then once that's fully saved, then we can go to our next page. And this is where we can say who our requesters are going to be, whether we want to have a file attachment, and then what our responses are. So do a lot of customization. So for this one, I want to determine who the requesters are, or who the approvers of this request are. So that's going to be myself and Macaulay. Right there. Put our custom responses in there if we wanted to. But for this, it's either going to be approve or reject, right? And let's go ahead and hit preview. So this is what our users are going to see. And then if it's good to go, we'll go ahead and hit publish. But we are not beholden to this at all. We can go through and make edits to this. So if I wanted to go back through, back to this leave one I just created, this leave of absence, I can hit the little ellipses and I can hit edit, or even just turn it off or delete it. But in order to use it, let's go ahead and close this out. Click on the little X in the top right-hand corner, and it's going to take us to our approvals homepage. And from there, let me go ahead and I'm going to do a new approval request. I'm going to come over to my templates, and let's go ahead and do that leave of absence. So I'm going to say vacation going to say when we're going to start. Let's go ahead and start May 29th, and we're going to take a nice long vacation. We can all dream, can't we? We're going to go through June 11th, and we're going to send that out. And now I know I made this, but I'm also set it as an approver. So what we're going to see is that in my history, in my sent, I'm now going to have that second approval I sent out, which is for vacation. And as someone who's been tasked with approving this, I'm also going to see that in my received. And then from there, I can go in and I can click on vacation, and I can simply approve it or reject it. Or if it's something maybe I need to connect a little bit more with the requester on, put a comment in there or mark it as something I need to follow up on. And then once it's approved, it's going to take a couple minutes, but then it'll show that this has been not only in my view, but also in that requestee's view as well. So incredibly useful tool to help you connect with others and meet their needs or meet the needs of the business, that you can easily go in and create something from the ground up using templates, or truly create something from nothing utilizing the empty space to create your own approval from nothing right there. But you can see how you can easily connect with your team to help meet their needs. But we also have another great tool inside of Teams to connect with your team to help meet the needs of your day, but also the needs of your business on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And that's going to be Task by Planner and To Do. So inside of Microsoft Teams, we do combine into one interface all of your tasks if you utilize the To Do application, as well as all of your tasks within the Planner application as well too. So it really makes it easy to go in and see what you need to focus on to get work done that day, not only for yourself, because you're able to see what's important to you or what specifically has been assigned to you, but also it's going to aggregate all the different planners from all the different teams that you're a member of. And so To Do is great because that's for you. That's your specific view, so you can manage your own day. And it's right here. So you can go up to your To Do task and create your own unique things that only you have access to, so you know how to prioritize your day, week, month, or whatever you want to set that up for. And this will then talk to not only the To Do application, but also show up in your Outlook tasks as well. But you can also then work inside that Teams environment as well too. So for instance, I want to come down to the state IT team into this training schedule. So now I can actually navigate to this team inside my team list and find this specific channel and this specific planner that it lives in. But thanks to this this task by To Do and planner, or task by planner and To Do, I don't have to go searching through all my teams to find that planner I was looking for. They're all in one place here. And it's going to easily break this down so I can see all the different tasks that have to do in a list view, but then I can still expand this out and get that full planner experience. So I can see that board view. So we can see all the different buckets. So this is maybe all the different motions or projects that we have going on. I can easily go through and create a new task within this. So just do something simple, like this is going to be a test task. I can set a due date for it if I wanted to. So let's set this have due for next Friday, and then assign it to people. I can assign this to Macaulay and to myself. And I've created now a simple task that Macaulay's going to have access to, I'm going to have access to, but actually everyone on the team is going to be able to see this as well too. So when you assign these tasks out, they're just not for you and that or whoever's been assigned that task to see. That's available for everyone on the team to see, so we can stay up to date on the work that we're doing. And then we can also go through and bring these to life more as well too. So if I actually go in after I've created that and open it up, you can see all the new information I can add into that. So I can set what priority this is going to take. I'm going to mark this as an important task that we need to work on. Go through and put some notes to give more line of sight as to what the importance or objective of this task is, and build it out even further with things like checklists or even able to add attachments. And then we also have this great comment section so you can keep track of the progress inside of this task. And what I love about Planner 2 is how many different views you have so you can prioritize your workday. So we showed the list view and the board view, But you can also have a great analytic view too. So it's going to show you all the tasks you have done, whether they're overdue, when they're due, and who they're assigned to. You can also see a great schedule view to get that calendar view of what your team should be focusing on for that specific plan. But again, now come back and see what's important to you. So under the assigned to me, come back through. Here's everything that's been assigned to me from within my own to do, so my self list, or within all these teams that I'm a part of. You can easily see the status as well as what planner and what team that's tied to. And then even break it down even further, like what's truly important? What are those items that I really need to focus on today? Whether it's from my to do or from my planner, easily get in and see all that information. And as opposed to going to that specific team, like I can do now, into that specific channel, and then find that tab where that planner exists and have access to that one specific planner, which is great. I can instead go to that task by planner and to do and have access to everything, all the different plans, all the different tasks that I need to get done. And again, if you don't see this on your left-hand rail, you probably won't unless you pinned it. Just come down to the ellipses and you're just going to search by tasks. And then it'll pop up task by planner and to do, left click, and then you'll be able to pin it if it's not already there. So we've talked a lot about how to connect with your team virtually, how to help manage their days, how to assign tasks and connect at a different level in this environment. But let's not forget about ourselves because that's an incredibly important part. And I think we overlook ourselves a lot of times, right? We need to be willing to give ourselves grace. We need to be able to give ourselves that focus time so we can prioritize what we need to get done and also give ourselves time to decompress and grow. And that's where Viva Insights is really going to come into play with this. So again, I already have Viva Insights pinned to my left-hand rail. If you don't see it, just do that same search procedure. But I'm going to jump into Viva Insights. And Viva Insights is a tremendous tool that's going to give you a lot of line of sight as to what's going on with your day, what you're going to need to prioritize to get work done. But also, it's going to really promote your own well-being. It's going to help you find those times to focus on yourself and help you recommend some practices to maybe de-stress, take a step away and kind of revitalize yourself. So on our homepage, immediately we're going to see some data right here. So we're going to actually be able to check in and see how we're feeling. Like, how are you feeling right now? Are you like kind of just got off a really frustrating call, right? Let's put that in there. It's afternoon on a Friday, so I'm actually got that smiley face going on because it's almost the weekend, right? Down at the bottom here, I can see top actions I need to do for the day. It's going to recommend me booking focus time, and it's going to let me know about what I need to catch up on my Microsoft To Do. So keep me up to date there. And I can even break that down even further. So I can come over to stay connected and I can follow up. It's going to use that AI to recommend things, actions, or people that I need to follow up with. Or if I'm having some great interactions or collaborating with someone recently, I can go and send them some praise. It's also going to recommend that I protect my time. So it's going to recommend times where I should book some focus time for myself. Like, hey, you're really busy this day. You're in meeting and meeting and meeting. Why don't you put this time for yourself? Focus on that work that you need to get done so you're just not constantly hopping around to meetings. Focus on that time to help grow yourself, right? And then it's also going to allow you to help set up this virtual commute as well too. And that's something that I think we've all taken for granted that we've lost within this hybrid work environment. That drive from your home to your work and from your work to your home at the end of the day was a great time to mentally prepare yourself to jump into work and to disconnect from the work that you've done. And myself, I work in my basement, so that walk up the stairs just isn't the same thing as that 15, 20, 30-minute drive. But this virtual commute is going to help you do that. It's going to let you know, hey, it's 5 o'clock. It's time to disconnect from work. And then when you partner that with things like the inspiration library, which we're building out to help you kind of learn some new practices and focus on yourself, Or if we come back to our home tab here, we have mindfulness built in. So we can actually see mindfulness exercises that we can utilize not only throughout the day, do a body scan. How are you feeling truly, right? Look inside yourself, see how everything's going. Maybe it's been hectic. You need some time to decompress, focus, right? And these are all very quick. So, like, this is 3 minutes. So, at the beginning, I mentioned maybe set that 5 minutes, maybe set that meeting to end 5 minutes late or start 5 minutes later, end 5 minutes early. That's a great time to jump into headspace and help you focus, help you decompress, right? And then we also have this working from home. So you get that virtual commute notification via Insights. Come in here and do that ending your day. So you can truly take that break from work into that home mode, right? So this is something Viva Insights. You also get Outlook emails from it, and there's a web version that you can access. But it truly, truly, truly comes to life via Microsoft Teams. Has tremendous analytics to help you stay connected and stay focused, but also some great practices to help you find that balance throughout the day. So if you're not using Viva Insights, highly suggest that you get in there and check that out because from someone who goes from personally someone who goes from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, this is a true lifesaver for me at times. So I highly, highly recommend it for you all. So awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand things off to Macaulay, and he's going to dive into some Power Platform integration for us inside of Microsoft Teams and how to bring that data to life inside of Teams, but also how to bring your own data to life and get your own insights of how you're working even further inside of Microsoft Teams. So with that, Macaulay, I'll quit sharing my screen and let you take over, good sir.
Absolutely. So great job, David. So I am going to start sharing my screen here. Do, do, do. So hello, everyone. I am Macaulay Klutzley. So I'm with the Microsoft training team, and I'm presenting out of Cleveland, Ohio today. So that's where I'm presenting from. I think it's finally starting to warm up again here after it just got cold again this week and when it's almost May, which is very cool. But yeah, so I'm going to be talking about the Power Platform side of things. So we're going to talk about how you can integrate the Power Platform into Teams to also help create that hybrid work environment where you can create those Power Automate flows in Teams. You can work with Power BI in Teams. So that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on. So we're going to be talking about Power BI and Power Automate in Teams today. So that's where we're going to be focusing. So let's start with Power BI, actually. So we're going to talk about the Power BI app inside of Teams. So some of the things that I'll talk about here today, they may have been sort of covered yesterday. I know yesterday was the Power Platform training with the HLS Summit. So I do believe that some things may have already been covered. So there may be a couple of things that are sort of repeats, but I am still going to go over all that you can do between Power BI and Power Automate here in Teams. So it's very simple to add both of these apps to Teams. So just as David was adding the approvals app and all of that fun stuff to the left-hand rail here in Teams, you can also add Power BI and Power Automate to the left-hand rail inside of Teams right here. So if you just go in here, if you don't already have them installed, you'll have to search for them. So you can just simply type in Power, and then that will start to bring up Power BI and Power Apps, as well as other Power stuff that you may run into. So let's look at Power BI. So the first time you go to install Power BI, it is going to ask you to install it, and you'll have to actually click on Add to actually add it to Teams. And once you have it added to Teams here, it's going to basically be almost identical to the Power BI service. So if you've worked with Power BI in the web browser before, so the actual Power BI service, this is laid out almost completely the same. There may be some slight differences. There's a couple of things missing from the left-hand rail over here, but you can see, and I can even open it up just to kind of show the comparison here. So the Power BI web browser version here, this page layout here, if I open it up in Teams, is almost completely identical. So it's nice to have this similarity here, because if you're already used to it, you don't even have to go to your web browser anymore to access Power BI. You can just do it here within Teams, which is pretty cool. So from here, you can do all of the same things that you normally would do in a web browser. You can make new reports. If you do want to make new reports, you can use the Create tab up here at the top. I am going to say this, if you are going to be making Power BI reports, if you're actually going to be authoring them on a regular basis, I am typically going to recommend using the Power BI desktop app, which is also recommended here mainly because the desktop app is going to be the best way to connect to many different data sources. So depending on where your data is located, if it's located in an SQL server, if it's located in an Excel spreadsheet, if it's located in a dusty hard drive somewhere on premises that's been there for a while, Power BI Desktop's going to find a way to connect to that for you. So Power BI Desktop's going to typically be the best way to do that. If you didn't know this as well, you can also analyze your Teams data with Power BI here in Teams. So just something I always like to highlight as well. I believe this was covered yesterday, so I'm not going to cover it again today. But definitely check out Analyze Your Teams data. It's actually going to give you some insights. It's going to tell you how many meetings you've been in, how long you've shared your screen for. I analyzed mine the other day, and I shared my screen for like 30 hours in 1 week from like all the trainings I did, which is pretty crazy. So it actually gives you some very cool insights into your Teams data. So you can work with reports here. You can connect to sample reports. There actually is a page layout view here in the top right in Power BI. So it's got the simplified and expanded view. If you want to see sample reports, make sure you change this page layout here to expanded. As long as you have it set to expanded, then when you scroll down here, this getting started with Power BI section will be right here. And you can actually click on sample reports right here to get to those sample reports. So these are actually all real world reports. They're actually connected to real data that's just been made anonymous, so it's unknown exactly where it comes from. So you can check these reports out. They're all fun to play around with. Like if I hop into this opportunity analysis sample, for instance, you can check the report out. You can see kind of what Power BI is capable of here in Teams. You can click on the various different functions of the report to filter down through the different pieces of the report. All the visuals can all automatically update depending on what you have selected. You'll actually see in this report view that you do have an option up here at the top to chat about it in Teams. So this is going to be at the top of every report that you're using in Power BI, whether it's in the web browser or it's here in Teams. If you are working with a report and you add all of these filters, let's say you're in the East region. Let's say you're in the East region. Ohio's not on here. That's unfortunate. Let's say you're in New York in the East region, and up here under product code, you're working with Aqua. Let's say this is your very specific focus area that you're working on, and you want to share this specific report with your colleagues to let them know that, hey, this is how we're doing so far this quarter. You can actually go up here to hit chat in Teams, and it's going to open up this menu right here. I don't know why it's all the way up there in the top left. It's going to ask me to sign in. That's cool. Let me sign in here real quick. And it's going to be able to drop that link to the report. It's going to give you sort of this smart link here that will actually conserve the filters that you've applied to that report. So you can then send it out. So up here where it says share, I can choose who to share it with. So if I actually just wanted to send it to David, for instance, I can do that. Select David, and then just hit share, and it's just going to immediately share that link. Oh, apparently it doesn't want to work. It's making me a liar. There we go. So it's going to share that link with David, and it's going to share it as a smart link. So that means that when he clicks on that link, it's going to open it up exactly as I have shared it. So this is going to go ahead and conserve all of those filters for you, which is pretty nice. So if I actually go to my chats over here and I go to David, you can see that it went ahead and dropped that link to the report right there for them. And that's all right here, Power BI inside of Teams. You're not just limited to that with Power BI though in Teams. You can also add Power BI reports at the top of a Teams channel. So if you have a report that is very beneficial to your team, it's something that your team is frequently wanting to look at, you can always add it as a tab at the top of a Teams channel. So if you actually go up here to the top, click on the little plus to add a tab, you can do a search for Power BI. It may also already be up here within these recent apps. And when you select Power BI, it's actually going to ask you, okay, which workspace are you pulling your report from? So you can choose the workspace. So basically your workspaces, however many workspaces you have, you would open up the one that the report you're looking for is associated with. You can then simply grab that. So maybe this regional sales sample is what I want. Click save, and it's going to go ahead and just add that to the top of that Teams channel. So these reports, If they're connected, if they're set up to automatically refresh, so if this report is set up to refresh on a regular basis, maybe once a day, once a week, once a month, every time it refreshes, it's going to refresh here in Teams as well. So all of the team members here can easily find this report by just clicking on this tab at the top of that Teams channel, just regional sales sample, and they can go in here. This report's actually pretty robust and neat. So this one actually lets you adjust like the forecast. Like if I want to adjust it to minus 30% here, it's going to adjust the rest of the report. And this is another one of those sample reports that you have access to with Power BI. So I can just add that up there, and easily our entire team can look at this report on a regular basis. It's just always going to be pinned up there at the top of that channel. You can also, and this is a fun little tip as well, if there's a report that you and some other members of your team are looking at maybe on a monthly basis, you can actually add it as a tab at the top of a Teams meeting as well. So take this generic HLS demo that David made earlier. If I actually just double click on it to open up the details for it, just as he added polls up here at the top earlier, I can also add Power BI. So I'll just again do a search for Power BI, go here. I can add that same report there at the top. So I'll go in here to my workspace and I will add that regional sales sample. And it becomes available then right there at the top of that meeting. And so what's useful here, there is a fun little way that you could actually set this up. So if this was meant to be a monthly business review, if this Power BI report is something that maybe you look over monthly with your team, what you actually can do is you could set up a reoccurring meeting. So this meeting, I don't think David set it up as reoccurring, but let's say we set this up as reoccurring to happen on a Friday at noon on the third Friday of every month. If you have it set up as a reoccurring meeting and you add this report as a tab at the top of that meeting to the whole series of meetings, it then becomes available every single time that meeting gets started on that third Friday of every month. So it's a very quick and easy way to get everybody that's a part of that meeting on the same page. So if you and the rest of your team need to be checking that report, checking the numbers, maybe you could even have numbers inside that report. You can set up measures, DAX expressions that maybe are looking at that same period, previous quarter or previous year. You could have a report that you're looking at, and then everybody that's in that meeting, just tell them, hey, it's in the meeting. Just go to this tab up here at the top, click on it, and you'll all be on the same page looking at that report together. So that could be a potential way that you can collaborate with Power BI inside of those Teams meetings. And I think that that's a pretty neat little way to use it. So just simply set it up as a reoccurring meeting in Teams. When you go to create oh, he did set this up as reoccurring. So you can actually, I don't think I can actually edit it, but it looks like he did set it up to reoccur. So I would be able to edit it. I'm not the organizer, so I can't add it to the whole series, but pretty useful tool that you have at your disposal there with Power BI. Now, that's pretty much the gist of Power BI in Teams. So you can add it at the top of Teams channels, you can add it to your side rail over here in Teams, and you'll always be able to work with it. So now I'm actually going to move on to Power Automate. So Power Automate is going to be another useful tool that you can utilize inside of Teams in a number of different ways. Now, when it comes to Power Automate within Teams, there's a lot of cool, unique ways that you could actually use it. I know a lot of people use Power Automate to create reminders. So reminders are going to be a big thing. So you can actually set up many different flows to post regular reminders inside of Teams channels. Maybe you want to have a reminder set up that's being sent out to various different team members on a regular basis, going to their chats. You can also connect it to Planner. And Planner is going to be another really cool way to utilize Power Automate in Teams. And again, you can just add it to your side rail here, do a quick search for Power Automate, and you can create all of your Power Automate flows right here in Teams. Now, if you are creating flows here in Teams, you are going to have access to the same usual templates that you would have for Power Automate. So if you actually scroll down, you're going to see all of the templates you typically would have. So if you're unfamiliar with what Power Automate does and what some of its capabilities are, Power Automate's essentially going to be a workflow solution that's going to allow you to automate various different business tasks. So you can see some of them here, like follow up on a message, notify a team when planner tasks are done, save a message to OneNote. So you can have all sorts of different Power Automate flows that do different things on an automatic basis. I actually always like to describe Power Automate as sort of being a way to bridge the gap between Microsoft 365 apps. So there tends to be things that you want to do with certain apps in Microsoft 365 that isn't necessarily native to those apps themselves that you can then do with Power Automate. So an example of that would be, let's say you have a form in Microsoft Forms where what you want to do is make it so that every time that form gets filled out, it's going to send the responses to that form to a SharePoint list. It'll automatically post the responses inside of a SharePoint list. That's something you can do with Power Automate that isn't necessarily native to forms, which is very cool. And the way that these flows work is that every single flow in Power Automate starts with a trigger. So the trigger is something that begins the flow running. And after that trigger, any number of actions can occur. So in the previous example, I talked about the trigger would be a form being filled out. So when a form is filled out, that would get the flow going, that would get the ball rolling. And then all of the actions that happen after that, such as it posting the responses to that form to a SharePoint list, would be the actions. And you'll see on these templates here in Power Automate, on the bottom left, it's going to tell you what type of flow it is. So if it says instant, that means it's a flow where the trigger happens manually. So the trigger for that flow is when you actually select something, you choose to have that flow run, that is when the flow will actually begin running. That's when it's going to actually start operating the actions. Automated workflows are actually going to be my favorite one. Those are the ones that actually happen automatically on a reoccurring basis. So for instance, the same example from before, the form being filled out would be an automated flow because it happens automatically whenever a form is filled out. There are also scheduled flows. So if I actually go to all templates here, there may be some in here. And scheduled flows happen on a regular scheduled basis. So essentially, you would set it up so that it happens automatically, maybe at the same time every day, every month, every week. You could even set them up every minute if you wanted to, or every second, I believe, is as fast as it can go for flows. So there's many different types of flows you can make, and each flow has a connector. So you can see the apps that these flows connect to right above the templates here. And so all of the ones in Teams, so if you're using Power Automate within Teams, like I am here, and you're on the Create tab up here at the top, they're all automatically going to connect to Teams. So they're all going to be associated with Teams in some way, shape, or form. You can see some simple ones, such as schedule a reply. So this is actually a simple one. What this does is this actually adds a little input that you can add to your messages in Teams where you can actually schedule a reply to be sent at a later time. So this is actually an interesting one. So if you were wanting to respond to someone, but you didn't quite want to respond to them right away, you could set up a scheduled reply for that. You can also schedule meetings from messages. If you do select any of these instant flows that are scheduled from a message, schedule a reply, what it does, if I actually go to over here, meeting now repeats. Oh, he set that meeting up so it repeats. That's cool. When I click on the ellipses over this message that David sent and I hover over more actions, this is where those Power Automate flows that you create actually show up. So right here where it says schedule a reply, that's the name of the flow that got created. I can click on schedule a reply, and that's going to allow me to run the flow to schedule when I want to send that reply to David. So I can actually go in here and give him a set date and time. I can actually put a very specific time. I can notify when he gets it and then submit, and Teams will just, or Power Automate, I should say, will automatically send that reply at the time that I set. So that's something you can set up, again, all within Power Automate here in Teams. And so there's a lot that you can set up. There are some more complicated flows that you can set up as well, such as being able to post messages to Teams whenever a new task gets created in Planner. So that was actually a workflow that I worked with before. So if you go up here to create, If you do a quick search for templates, you can actually search for various different templates. So I can actually search for Planner. So if you're looking for a specific Teams template that is associated with Planner, you can find them in here. So you can notify a team when Planner tasks change status, create a Planner task when a channel post starts with to do, or even make when a new task is created, notify the team. So if you do select any of these flows or any of these templates here in Power Automate, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to give the flow a name. So I can actually give this a different name if I want to. It's going to have you sign in to all of the applications associated with that flow. And then when you hit next, it's going to have you actually set your flow up. So inside of Teams here, they make it pretty simple. All you have to do to set the flow up is choose the group that that plan comes from. Down here under the plan, you would choose the plan for the group on where it comes from, the team that it notifies, and then the channel that you specifically want to notify. So I actually already set that flow up. So let me show what that looks like here. If I go back to home. So right here where it says post messages to teams when a new task is created, if I click on it, this is going to be the actual flow detail page. So this gives you some details on the flow itself. So it's going to tell you what it does. It's going to tell you when it was made, who the owner is. If there's multiple owners, those will show up over here on the right as well. And then the connections, specifically what that flow connects to. And as I scroll down, it's also going to give you a 28-day run history of that flow, so you can get sort of an idea. So David actually made a task 26 minutes ago inside of that plan, and so that is when this flow ran, was 26 minutes ago. Up here at the top as well, you have a couple of other options. You can actually share your Power Automate flows out with others. You can export it or even submit it as a template. You can even turn it off, which means that it won't run until you turn it back on. So that's useful if you have a flow that's going out of control and you want to turn it off for some reason, you can do that. And you can always edit the flow. So if I go up here to edit, that will actually bring you into the flow creation tool where you can then edit that flow. So this is actually what the flow creation tool actually looks like. So it's actually a very simple interface. So the very top here, if you think of this as a flow chart where it stops from the top down or starts from the top down, that's exactly how these flows work. So you've got the trigger at the top. So the trigger is what actually starts the ball rolling on that flow. And then you have the rest of the items that are a part of that flow right there. So you have, this is going to post a message into a chat or channel when a new task is created from the plan that I have selected right here. And then down here under post a message in a chat or channel, this is also where you can post a message inside of that channel. So you would choose where you're posting it. Down here in the body of the text, you actually change exactly what is written in the message that is sent. So this is going to automatically post a message every time a task gets created. So I may want to adjust the actual body of the message to change what exactly it says. This is where you start to get into dynamic content with your flows in Power Automate as well. So each one of these little cards right here is going to be dynamic content. So this is where you will see, if you actually scroll down, you can see when new tasks are created, it'll add these dynamic content items down here. So you can choose very specific items from the task. So these are all going to be a little bit confusing to look at. So it's going to kind of auto-populate them for you from the template. And then you can just simply save and test your flow. So when you actually test it, you can just choose to manually run it, which means when I add a task, so if I go back to that training schedule, that plan that we have, if I add a task to this, and I just add a simple task here that says finish training, maybe set a due date for that task to next week, assign that to myself and David, add task. It's going to add that task, and then Power Automate should just automatically add that message here. So you can see a message was sent earlier at 12:40. It may take it a second for that flow to run, but it's going to go ahead and automatically send the message inside this channel again to let us know that a new task was made. So maybe you want to, you can even set up these channels so that they're actually only able to be filled out by the Power Automate bot. So if you wanted to turn on channel moderation, that's actually something you can do. So if you actually go into here to manage the channel, you can always do that from right here. It doesn't look like it wants to send the message. It hasn't actually sent it yet, which is interesting. Let's go back to my flow and make sure that it actually is running here. When a new task is created in Planner, it doesn't look like it actually decided to run when I ran it there. That's interesting. I'm not sure why that decided not to work. All right, anyways, let's go back to the Create tab right here. So there's various other things that you may want to make. I will say that the Power Automate inside of Teams, the templates here are going to be limited in terms of how many templates there are because they are going to be focused on team specifics. If you are trying to make Power Automate flows that do more with the rest of Microsoft 365 or other connectors, you could do so from the web browser version. So the web browser version of Power Automate is usually going to have even more templates available to you for what you may want to do specifically. So if you're wanting to add stuff to your calendar, mess with Planner even further, like if you're wanting to make it so you can create Planner tasks from SharePoint lists or things of that nature, you can actually do all of that from Power Automate there. You can also do a search up here for approvals. So when you actually, David was showing off the approvals app earlier, you can also create approvals using Power Automate. So you can actually do even more when you're creating approvals using Power Automate. So you can see here, start an approval when a file gets added to SharePoint. You can do one when a response is submitted in Forms. So this could be a good example. So David's example from earlier was sort of a time off request type thing. Maybe you have a form that is specifically for time off requests. You could start an approval process for that here. So I don't think I have a form that actually connect this to. Let's see. So let's go ahead and hit next. So we'll do this one. So it's going to want you to set up the flow. So I'm going to select the ID of my forms. Let's do my training feedback form. And then you can do the approval type. So you have to select what exactly you want your approval to be. So you can connect this to any form that you have already created. So you would want to make sure that you've created your form already. Choose the approval type. So does it need to be everyone approves? Do you just need one person to approve? Do you need to create custom responses? That's also something you can do. Let's just do the basic first to respond. Then it's going to ask you to create a title for that approval. So I can say maybe just training approval. And then select the users and groups to assign the approval to. So this is where maybe I can start assigning the approval out. So if I type in my name and then also David's name, I can add us both to that approval process, create the flow, and it's going to go ahead and set up an approval specifically for David and I to approve whatever is filled out in that form. And I can hit done right here. If I actually go back to my flow, let me go back to the home screen here where it has my list of flows. Right here where it says start an approval when a response is submitted, I can get that approval going. So if I actually go to edit right here, it's going to show what that flow looks like. So it's actually probably going to be a much more complicated flow than what we saw earlier. So it's going to go through all of these steps right here to start that approval process for that. So there's a ton of different ways that you can use approvals. When you start using approvals with Power Automate, it's kind of what Jonathan had just said in the chat there. You can really go above and beyond with it. You can do a whole lot here. Power Automate has conditionals, so there's actually a condition down here at the bottom. So you can set up all of these conditionals, decide what happens. So if the response is yes, it will do these actions down here. If the response is no, it seems like this is a simple one where all it's doing is informing them of approval. You could take this a step further if you wanted to. I believe there was a question way earlier in the training in regards to approvals where could you potentially send this to a Outlook calendar? Could you send this if this was a time off request specifically? You could do that. You could add an action here for the if yes section. You would have to set it up so that it would send it to an Outlook calendar. And you would have to specifically have a question inside the form that you have set up that has those specific timestamps. So as long as you have the specific timestamps, you could then create an action here to connect it to a calendar and just automatically post it on your calendar or their calendar. All of that can be done with Power Automate. So it all kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier about how Power Automate kind of helps bridge that gap between applications. You can basically connect to all sorts of different Microsoft 365 applications to basically do whatever you want. so to speak. It's you can really go. I've known people that make some very complicated Power Automate flows that do some pretty complex things, and it really is only going to be limited by just how much time you're willing to put in to create these complex flows. But we've got this very simple approval form right here where when that form is filled out, I can test it. I think I actually have that form in forms here. We go to train feedback here. Go back to Teams. Whoops. Manually test this. Go down here to test. When you go to manually test your flows, it is going to sort of go to this never-ending spinning circle here where I can then fill out this form. Whoops, go to preview. This is not the best form to use as an example, so I'm just going to say NA right here. Submit. And when you submit the response, it's more than likely going to start running the flow. So there it's running the flow right there. And then that's where it has to actually create the approval. You can see I just got sent the approval, so I actually have to go to my activity over here to look at that approval. And I can go down here. I'm going to close out of this. I now have to choose to approve or reject that. I can add comments, hit approve. Once I approve it, it's then going to finish the rest of that flow. So basically, if you're wanting to do even more with approvals, you can do it with Power Automate. So very cool way to set that up as well. And that's all done within Teams. I really didn't leave Teams here. The only time I left Teams was to work with forms. And you can even incorporate those forms into a team if you wanted to. You can actually set up, you could put that form, again, you could post that form as a tab at the top of a Teams channel so that when people fill out that form, it just automatically starts that approval process for you there, right there, all within Teams. We really like to stress the whole Teams as a platform here where we basically want to just make it so you never have to leave Teams. You can do all of this just directly here in Teams so that you don't really have to leave. If people are sending you messages and stuff, you can continue talking in the chats inside of Teams. You can even use the search bar to send chat messages if you don't want to leave the flow that you're working on. You've got a lot of fun things that you can do here with all of these flows directly here inside of Teams, so to speak. So really quite easy to set all of that up. But that actually just about brings me to the end of my content. I do believe that we were going to be opening things up for Q&A then. So if we wanted to move on to Q&A, we can absolutely do so now.
Yeah, thanks so much. A lot of great tips and tricks and walkthroughs on how to leverage Teams in a hybrid workplace. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer them. But also, Jonathan, do we want to go ahead and talk about the survey while we wait for people to post questions in the window? Might be on mute. So yeah, I'm posting it in the window just to kind of close out today's session. We could not do this without your feedback. So please, if you have a quick 5 minutes, we made the questions pretty simple, but also a way to kind of provide any kind of feedback of how you would like support from your Microsoft account team. So any person that fills out the survey, you will actually receive a Sugar Wish coupon from us within 2 weeks, which allows you to go online and pick sweets and treats to be delivered to your home directly. And if you attended any of our previous sessions during this week and filled out more than one survey, you'll be entered in for a raffle for some Surface headphones or Bose sunglasses. So once again, really appreciate everyone's feedback on the Team Summit this week. So hopefully you found this very helpful for everyone.
Yeah, and remember, your feedback is how we drive these events. So if you have a suggestion or want something else, we will take your information and bubble it up, and we'll have our CSMs either follow up with you directly, that's the goal, and help us build maybe Team Summit Summer 2022. And we'll
yeah, we would love to. And just feedback for the group. It's just Jonathan and I who are coming up with these topics. So if there's a topic that we are missing from these sessions, or feel free to put that in the survey, or feel free to reach out to Jonathan and I. Once again, we'd love the feedback, what you guys want to see, and we'll make sure to create it for any kind of upcoming team summits. And then there was a question of where are the links for all these recordings. So we are posting them out on the Health and Life Science blog. So I just put that in the window. I will have today's session up later on this afternoon. So you should have everything minus the one that we had earlier this week. We're still kind of trying to retrieve that video, but the PowerPoint is listed out there right now. So we do have some questions coming in, David, and team, if you guys want to kind of go ahead and unmute yourself, and maybe we can just have an open forum right now. Or Macaulay, I do see some around what you were just kind of showcasing with approvals.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did see the question Steve had asked, can Power Automate integrate other programs into a workflow like Adobe Acrobat? So I did a quick search. There are a couple of Adobe services that are available as connectors. So I see Adobe PDF, Adobe Creative Cloud, and then Adobe Sign. So depending on your use cases, you may be able to pull off what you're trying to do. They're constantly adding connectors to Power Automate. Back when I first started using Power Automate, I think there were only 200 something connectors, and now there's 500 or something crazy like that. So there's a lot of connectors. So if you actually go to Power Automate, go to the homepage for Power Automate, on the left-hand side, there's a connectors tab that you can click on that actually will show you all of the connectors you have available to connect to. So that's pretty useful. And then I saw another one. Where did it go? Is there a way to add a document to an approval request? So yes, so you would be able to add a document inside the approval request. You would just have to add that as part of an action inside of your flow, if that's something that you were wanting to do.
Yeah, that natively is actually part of the approval template that's already built for you.
Yeah, and just to kind of add to that, Rebecca, I've actually gone through this with another client where they had a pre-populated section within a Word document, and we were able to make sure that all of that content goes through the flow. It actually initially started from a form request all the way through a SharePoint request to adding documents that need to be sent out and approved for the requester to fill out, to going through another approval process. So there's a lot you can do. So to answer your question, yes. And once again, I highly recommend, if you are trying to think of how to plan out that approval process or leverage the Power Platform in general, request an ideation session. Our team is more than happy to kind of talk through it with you and provide some suggestions. We have some great resources on our team that you can even possibly create it through a proof of concept for you.
Yep.
To show
Yeah,
it.
that's a great thought, Sarah. Plus, any of the features of the Power Platform, Power BI, Power Virtual Agent, Power Apps, and Power Automate, David and Macaulay can do 1-hour classes with you and your teams. So you guys can get some great base learning and dig into some of the templates that are available for you. So lots of resources to help you be successful. So please ask. We're all here to help you.
Yeah,
Well,
and just
no more
sorry,
questions. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, just to add in, the classes that we offer are complimentary, so at no charge to your organization, and customizable too. So we'll work with you to make sure that we're showcasing how your environment is set up, and also aligning with your goals and asks as well too. So it doesn't just have to be very cookie cutter information. It can be, hey, how do you want to use? How does your organization plan to use this, and what direction specifically do you want your end users to utilize for that? And we have pre-made agendas that we can share out with you and really work shoulder to shoulder with you to make those land the way that you want them to land. And I'll put my email in there if you're interested in that.
Awesome. Thanks, David. And thanks, everyone. Once again, Jonathan and I really appreciate it for jumping on a Friday. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And once again, we'll make sure to have this video posted by the end of today. And make sure to fill out that survey. You'll get an email from Jonathan just as a quick reminder. So thanks again, everyone.
Thanks. Have a great Friday. Great weekend. Be safe and enjoy some nice warm weather. And love having you here. We couldn't do it without you, and always appreciate your feedback, honesty, and we continue to strive and do better for summer 2022 Team Summit.
Awesome.
All right, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
That's
Bye.
a wrap.